Matt Murray and Dadonov in Montreal or in Ottawa, both players that you no one would have picked Ottawa to pick both of those guys, to get both of those guys, or Dadonov, sorry. Are those guys that are going to make a huge difference in Ottawa?
Dadonov's a good signing.
You're not crazy about Matt Murray?
Really? Interesting. Wow.
Really? Wow. What is it about Matt Murray?
Not at all.
Really?
I hope Matt Murray somehow gets a hold of this, and I think and just says that guy Eric Engels is an idiot, and I'm going to do great. I don't understand, given what the goaltending market this year, why they would give up any assets at all, futures, to bring a goalie in, other than the idea that potentially they felt that nobody would sign with them.
Right.
You got a lot of money.
And then give him the contract they gave him.
A big, yeah.
I hope Matt Murray, first of all, Matt Murray's a good guy, and I hope Matt Murray bounces back from some horrible injury situations over the last couple of years that seem to have derailed kind of the arc that he was on. But I haven't seen it since then. I don't like what I saw from him in Pittsburgh over the last year. I had no idea why Steve Sullivan was starting him in the playoffs. Thought it was Mike Sullivan, excuse me. Apologies to Steve and Mike. I thought it was a huge mistake. I thought it was a huge mistake to go with Murray to start that series against Montreal. And I felt that if he stumbled in the first game, they were going to Jarry in a situation where you're putting extra pressure on a guy who had never started a playoff game before, whereas he had the better season than Murray. He was the starting goalie. He had stolen the job. He was a Vezina candidate for 2 months of the season. And, they were in a situation where start with Jarry, and you could bring Murray in because, A, he's used to coming in on the side and stealing the job, and B, you're not in a situation where, oh, my God, if you lose that first game to Montreal – you're under so much pressure in a 5 game series because everyone thought you were going to smoke them. And then you're going to put Jarry in that situation where there's all this extra pressure there. And it's all to say that Murray he hasn't had it. He hasn't had it over the last, he was objectively bad in the playoffs, and he's still got upside. He's still young, and it's really less to do with Murray himself. The entire market, how many goaltenders were on the market?
Many.
How on earth
wouldn't be a better move than that?
Yeah.
I thought it was.
If you're going to trade,
I want to see that.
Well,
I want to see Murray Fleury in Ottawa.
But here's the other thing. If it was Fleury instead of Murray, you're kind of checking 2 boxes. One, you're getting a guy who wants to be a starting goalie, who can still be a starting goalie and is a pretty excellent one. And I really don't care what his numbers were this year. I know they weren't that good. I think he was around 907 for the year. I watched him play about 10 games with Vegas because I do enjoy watching Vegas. He was their best player on the ice when he was playing, and he was great in the playoffs. I'd bring that guy in to check that box, but I would also bring him in because everything I was talking about, having good veterans around your young players, he's the number one guy on that list. If there was ever a player you wanted to have around your young players, it's Marc-Andre Fleury. So
it helps you hit the cap floor if you're Ottawa.
Yeah. So there's every reason you could think of that makes sense, unless Marc-Andre Fleury has Ottawa on his no-trade list and they can't figure out a way to make it work. But I don't know. It just seemed to me that there was a lot of options and that Matt Murray wasn't the best one, and they dove all in with him. And they signed him to a contract where, how long is the contract? Is it 4 or 5?
I think it's
4.
It is 1, 2, 3, 4 is 4.
Okay, so it's 4 seasons. So is he signed for next year and then it starts?
So no, it begins next season, and it gets harder to trade as it goes on.
He was an RFA.
Yes, he makes 4, 6, 7, 8.
Great. So he's there for 4 years, and presumably, if they've done this whole thing the right way, he's got to be the guy when they're actually ready to start winning hockey games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're supposed to have a cup within 4 years, Eugene said so.
Oh boy.
Do you guys?
Sure.
Well, maybe I have a vision problem, but I don't see it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I had less of an issue with them giving up assets just because they had drafted so many guys and they felt, good about themselves. But what blows my mind too,
how many goalies were on the market?
Right. Like the two cups, it's hard to ignore, but the sheer fact that there were so many goalies and Markstrom was the most high profile one and he was a UFA and Murray got more per year. That's wild to me.
I think you're paying an Ottawa tax at that point, though. I think you are.
Markstrom went to Calgary.
Yeah, Calgary's a great. No. Calgary's in a much better and different position. They have.
I was talking from a tax perspective, but
no, I'm talking about the playing for the Ottawa Senators tax right now. Is that they dealt for an RFA and they dealt him to, and he went to a market where nobody wants to sign, and he knows that. So I think he ground them. The agent ground him on that one. I think. Because they're not going to trade for Matt Murray and let him sit, even though they didn't give up all that much to get him.
It's like Josh Anderson, right? He got the leverage because, well, you obviously want me. You traded for me.
Yep, 100%. That's what I think happened. But it's funny on the record. I was like pro Leafs going after Matt Murray. So this is very interesting, Eric, that you don't see it at all. You got to see him up close. Do
you guys watch him play this year?
I just thought there's a pedigree there. They could probably.
I'm the last guy. I hate when people on Twitter, whoever, fans, reporter, who say this guy sucks. I don't think anyone sucks. Anybody who plays at this level, to me, is you can't say they suck.
Yeah.
And there are players that have bad seasons or whatever it is, but he wasn't good. He wasn't good this year, and he hasn't been the same player since he suffered a couple of bad injuries, a concussion among them, or a couple of them. And I didn't see signs that tell me he's coming back to being the guy that he was when he won a couple Stanley Cups. I get it, and I get why Ottawa would trade for him and sign him. I just don't think it's the right move when they had 20 others that they potentially could have made. And again, you probably eliminate a few of those. Maybe they say to themselves, can't find a guy that fits what we need age-wise and a guy that will sign as a free agent to a deal that makes sense for us. But they may as well have dealt with Murray as a UFA. I guess he's 26 in his last year of RFA or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. I watched him play. I don't see it. I just don't see it. And you know what? I hope that I'm wrong. I do hope I'm wrong. I'm always rooting for guys to come out and prove people wrong and show that they can be something better than people ever thought of them. And I've seen it happen with a lot of players. And those are the players. I don't cheer for any teams, but I really cheer for those players. I cheer for players where they're in a market and the fans are all over them constantly saying, oh, they're not this, they're not that. And they end up playing great. And everyone says, shit, I was wrong. And I'm cheering for those guys. So Matt Murray, if you're watching, I hope you play great next season in Ottawa. I think there was a lot of risk in that, especially for a team that is on the up and up with all the young moves they've made and needs certain components in there to help bring those players along.